The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton is brought to you by Dubby. What is Dubby? Dubby is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crash, jitters, or angst like those other energy drinks have. They also have no maltodextrin fillers and don't use artificial dyes. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. W's products are made in the USA in an FDA-inspected facility that strictly adheres to GMP manufacturing guidelines. All of the flavors are unique and custom-made by W, and you'll never taste our taste anywhere else. The best part about it is they're affordable. W's drinks come out to about $1 per drink, much cheaper than Starbucks or any of those canned energy drinks. To learn more, visit w.gg.com/MRTipton33 and place your order today. Use promo code MrTipton33 and save today. W Energy, be better. Are you a fellow car guy? I have a 2008 Ford Mustang GT convertible, and nothing makes me happier in that car than when it's nice and clean. And you know who helps me get there? RevAutoCarCare.com. They help me get that pony looking as nice and shiny and ready for any of the car meetups that are all around the great city of El Paso. Spoil your car and go to RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton and view all the inventory they have and find out what works for you to help make your ride shine. RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton. Use promo code Tipton33 at checkout to save 15%. We all know there's hundreds of betting sites out there, but don't be fooled. Some sites are legal in some states only. Some sites pay in Bitcoin, and some sites have even been hacked. BetUS, however, has been in business for over 30 years. Future bets are paying out in the thousands, and if you act right now, you can still bet on the biggest games in sports. Visit BetUS.com, or you can click the link at nessp.info. BetUS, check it out and bet responsibly. It is the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, hanging out with you here on a Friday morning, the end of the week. We finally made it. Friday, February 21st. We are live on X. Of course it's going to go that way. I've been trying to stifle it back all week long, and as I start the show, this is how it goes. We are live on X, on YouTube, on Facebook, and of course on Roku via National Streaming Sports. Shout out to our friends over at National Streaming Sports. A lot of good stuff that's going to be going on later on today over on that platform. Check them out. Download Roku. Download National Streaming Sports. You will not regret that decision. It's an awesome, awesome platform and a lot of amazing and talented individuals. Remember, we are brought to you by our friends over at W Energy, W.GG. Use promo code Michael Tipton, and you can save up to 15% on all of the W Energy products. You've heard me talk about them a whole bunch of times. As a matter of fact, yesterday, very busy day for your boy. I would not have been able to make it through without W Energy. So shout out to my friends over at W Energy. All right. It's a T.I.P from the VIP Friday. Y'all got questions. I got answers. You can go ahead and answer them or ask them. Doesn't matter what part we are or where we are in the show. Sorry, got to continue drinking. Man, I've been drinking teas and all kinds of stuff to help with this throat issue. You can see I sound a lot better. I cannot seem to get rid of all of the stuff that's just gathering in the back of my damn throat. Nonetheless, it's a T.I.P VIP Friday. All you got to do, ask your questions. Doesn't matter where we are in the show. I will answer those questions. Doesn't matter what the question is. Let me rephrase that because I know I'll get some dumbass questions out there. Most of your questions, as long as they are appropriate questions, I will answer those questions. Okay, but I wanted to get started off of some new stuff that happened yesterday, and it's just basically going to be me as a sports fan crying into the abyss sad about what has happened to my favorite sports teams. The San Antonio Spurs, yesterday, whenever the show was over, news comes out of San Antonio that their star, one of the biggest stars in the basketball world, and I mean that not just literally but figuratively, one of the biggest stars in basketball, is going to be shut down for the remainder of the season. Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs out with a blood clot that was found in his shoulder. Now, that's alarming because most of the time people would think, well, he's so big, it's going to be foot issues, ankle issues, things like that, right? But as we see, the man really, no, they're not trading Wemby. The man really takes his preparation over the top seriously, right? It's a blood clot that they find in his shoulder, and they're shutting him down for the remainder of the season. And the thing with this is that's a terrifying injury if you are anybody, right? Like, it wasn't that long ago that injury, blood clots, is what caused the end of the career for Hall of Famer Chris Bosh, right? And Chris Bosh didn't have the weight of an entire franchise on him. He didn't have all of those things that kind of surround him. And as we know, the San Antonio Spurs organization is very, I guess, cautious when it comes to these things, right? So look at back in the day, right? Like all the stuff, Augustine saying Wemby to the Lakers. No, like it's not going to happen. Again, like the injury that he has done for the season, right? Like just has nothing to do. And you would have thought the San Antonio Spurs, look, they made a trade that would have given them a push to make it to the playoffs. If you don't have Wembanyama, there's no real need in winning any more games, right? They're in Austin yesterday. They weren't in San Antonio. They were in Austin yesterday. And they play against the Phoenix Suns, and somehow, some way, San Antonio gets a win. Also let you know that Phoenix, not that good of a team. San Antonio led now by De'Aaron Fox, led by Stephon Castle. All of, those things that go around there in August and saying, yeah, the Spurs are a good organization. Pop makes sure of that. It's not just that, right? Like, it's it's the whole organization, like all the way down, like RC Buford and everyone, right? Like the Spurs are a well-ran organization. We've only seen one player in the history of the organization come out and say, I don't like the way this team is treating me. And that was Kawhi Leonard, who didn't want to play, even though he was cleared by San Antonio to play. They didn't force him to get out on the court. They just said, look, dude, everything looks good. Why aren't you playing? Kawhi ultimately demands a trade, goes out, wins a championship with Toronto, but really hasn't been on the court ever since, right? So Augustine asking, what is the treatment for the blood clots that Victor Wembanyama is going to have, right? Like, obviously there's going to be some sort of blood thinners and things like that, but at this young of an age, right? Like at least Chris Bosh had already had, what, I want to say 12 seasons under his belt whenever he had to wind up retiring because of blood clots. It's going to be a long process, right? And I don't know if I necessarily believe that Victor Wembanyama is only shut down for this season. There might be a real legitimate shot that Victor Wembanyama is shut down for not just this season, but next season. And then Lord knows what happens after that, right? Like, it's going to be one of those really hard to navigate type of injuries, because I don't know if you can just come out and say, like, you're cured, right? Like people that have dealt with blood clots, luckily I haven't had to deal with anything like that, but people that have dealt with blood clots seem to deal with them on a habitual basis. And if you're in the, in athletics and you're playing sports and doing all that stuff, it's going to be a little more difficult for you to kind of stay healthy and do the things that you need to do in that high pressure type of situation, right? So it's going to be very intriguing to see. And then again, like, you hope and pray, because he's so young and he's so talented, that this isn't going to be something that kind of lingers for the majority of his career or the entirety of his career. But man, like if this were to be the case that ends the career of Victor Wembanyama, blood clots, you talk about, and I'm not talking about this as like a San Antonio Spurs fan. I'm talking about this as a basketball fan. You talk about being robbed of watching greatness, right? Because we can look at Victor Wembanyama and say, Jesus Christ, that's unfair. Like you can genuinely think that. Augustine saying, nah, Wemby will be fine. There's new technology that helps all of these things. Tommy Canasta saying, good morning, Tip. Good morning to you, Tommy. Hope that you are having yourself a fantastic day. Tommy saying, I told you, Tip, big guys like that have a hard time staying healthy. That was always my fear. Even beforehand, right? Like, I really genuinely had to hype myself up. It was after watching him for I guess in the summer league and you know seeing his first few NBA games where I was like, okay, I'm on the bandwagon with this Wemby stuff. My issue was I thought it was going to be the feet, right? Like we've seen guys like Rick Smits and Yao Ming and even eventually Shaq. Like we've seen those big dudes always succumb to like feet issues. The blood clot thing to me, it's so surprising because you can look at Victor Wembanyama and tell like, oh, okay, this dude doesn't do but like you can tell he takes care of himself. So the fact that he has a blood clot, that's a huge like, oh my, where the hell did this come from, right? Like I said, we hope and pray, and I say this even if it was like a team that I didn't like, right? Like if Luka were to go down, you would hate to see someone like that go down due to injury, and we're kind of watching it right now with Luka, right? Like Luka misses yesterday's game, he's going to be a DNP for a little while, off and on, because of the lingering calf issue. What that calf issue can lead to, we've seen, is a ruptured Achilles. Look at what happened to Kevin Durant a couple of years ago in the NBA Finals, right? It was always a sore calf, a sore calf, a sore calf. He tries to come back and then ruptures the Achilles. That's what the Lakers are blocking against, right? At least you can do surgery and come back from an Achilles, take a year off or whatever it is. The blood clot thing, I only know of, and maybe there's other people out there that know more about this than I do. I only know of one player that had the blood clot issue. It was Chris Bosh, and he was forced to retire. Right? Like we all knew Chris Bosh probably could have continued doing his career, but he wound up having to retire because no team was going to clear him. With the Spurs being the way that the Spurs are, we have to remember they sat with David Robinson on the bench for what was it, 18 months because of the back issue that he had. They sat with Sean Elliott for, I want to say, 2.5 years because of the kidney issue that he had. Like, this is a team that is going to be super patient with their stars. What's this injury going to do, right? Like, it's not like a legitimate injury. Like it's crazy, man. Augustine saying it would be an example. Like, is this an example? Like, Jalen Hurts has blood clots and you don't feel bad about that one? I would, dude. Like, I don't want to see people's careers end because of like injury, right? Like I don't care who you are. I don't want to see anybody's career end because of something like an injury. I'm a huge comeback story kind of guy. Like that's genuinely just the way that I feel about sports. Like I love the comeback story. I love the ability for a player to like bounce back from certain types of things, right? Now, if you do something stupid like you're Deshaun Watson, be gone, my dude. Like I do not give an F about you and your career, right? But I wouldn't want to see anybody's career come to end because of an injury, right? Like we've seen so much of this, especially in the NBA. Dudes like Brandon Roy, Greg Oden, like there's just a long list of players. Like even Kawhi Leonard, as good as Kawhi Leonard is, imagine if he was actually healthy all the time, right? Like that's just the way that I am, man. Tommy Canasta saying, I hate the Spurs, but I don't want to see guys like that go down. I wouldn't feel bad if he was an Eagle, though. Just saying. And I guess like that's the difference between me as like a sports fan, right? Is I can separate, I guess, the individual from the team. I guess that's That's the one thing that I can do as a sports fan, right? Like, I didn't like the Patriots, but I loved me some Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady, there's no way you can deny Tom Brady the greatest quarterback of all time. But I could separate the individual from the team, right? Like, a lot of the times you don't have control over where you go, especially with the NFL draft, with any draft, right? Like Dallas Goedert, huge, huge Cowboys fan. The Eagles pluck him right before the Cowboys can, changes the whole trajectory of his career, wins Super Bowls multiple with the Eagles. I don't hate on him. He didn't have control of where he went to. Now in free agency, that's where the big question comes, right? Like the big question of if you can go to another team and that team is willing to pay you, are you going to go there? And with the NFL, it's kind of easier to just stay where you are, right? Tommy Cananza saying, I hated Terrell Owens until he came to Dallas. So for me, it's just the team, LMAO. No, I'm with you, my dude. I hated Terrell Owens as well, just because of what he did in San Francisco, right? Like the disrespect to the star with the Dallas Cowboys. That to me was the tipping point. Yeah, see what I did there? That was a tipping point of me saying, you know what, I don't like this guy, but as soon as he comes to my team, oh no, he's great. And even after he left the team, oh no, he's great, right? One of the guys that I think I didn't like whenever he was a Dallas Cowboy was Greg Hardy, right? Like there was just so much that surrounded Greg Hardy where it was like, I don't know if this is what I want to do. Um, it's one of those things where like, how long ago was it that the Dallas Cowboys signed Greg Hardy? Because that seems like a very long time ago, and it's so funny to me because the other day, I was on the professional sports show that National Streaming Sports has, and they were talking about the Justin Tucker issue that's going on, right? And everyone's like, no, 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 no. You need to give Justin Tucker a second chance, blah, 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 this and that. You know, me playing devil's advocate is the difference between Deshaun Watson and what Justin Tucker is the fact that at the time the Cleveland Browns went after Deshaun Watson was, you know, in his mid-20s. He was going towards the peak, was coming off of an MVP caliber season. That's why he was able to have himself the second chance that he got, right? Justin Tucker's 35 years old. We saw him miss a ton of field goals. My whole thing is I wouldn't be surprised if he's out of the league because his performance just hasn't been where it needed to be, especially this season, for a team to say, you know what, I'll take a flyer on this guy. Kickers are a dime a dozen, right? And the rebuttal to that was, well, Jerry Jones goes out and signs these guys. The reason why Jerry Jones signed to Pac-Man Jones, the reason why Jerry Jones signed Greg Hardy, the reason why Jerry Jones had those types of players on the team was because they had a need at that position. And the funny thing about that is the person that was, you know, coming at me about this was a Carolina Panthers fan whose team was allowing Greg Hardy to play for them while he was going through all of the court stuff. So to me, it was like, what are we really doing here? Like genuinely, what's the conversation? You just want to dump on the Cowboys? The Cowboys are the team that gives teams players another chance? Come on now. Every team does. Every single damn team does. Tommy Canasta saying Greg Hardy played in 2015. He remembers that because the Cowboys sucked that year. He thinks it was a 4-12 season. I was thinking about that too, right? Like it was a year that they were really bad. And I think that led to the draft of Zeke and of Dak, right? Like that's kind of what it was. It was another like Romo injured year. I remember that year. Wow. I was actually talking about this yesterday with my guy Corey Kamershak. He had posted up a video of whenever he was going to Arizona State and they traveled to USC and the Arizona State quarterback throws like a Hail Mary touchdown and you feel the deflation in the stadium, right? In the 2015 season, I believe Tony Romo broke his collarbone in the second game. Is out. The Cowboys aren't doing all that well. They're waiting for the second half of the season. And Tony Romo comes back. He plays a game. Then they go into the Thanksgiving game. And I went to that Thanksgiving game. It was against them. And at that time, the 10-0 Carolina Panthers. And in that game on Thanksgiving, right after the half, where you kind of thought, at least we have Romo, at least we have something that we can build on. It had to have been like either the second quarter or right after the half. It was in that time frame, right? Tony Romo drops back to pass, gets dropped, breaks his collarbone again. And you could feel 100,000 people in Cowboy Stadium celebrating Thanksgiving, celebrating all that, all the happiness and all the things that you do there. You could feel just the weight of that entire stadium collapsing upon itself from the way that it felt after you saw Tony Romo on the ground and he punches the turf because he knew it was done. He knew the season was done. Oh man, I remember that so vividly. You could hear conversations like rows away, sections away from just how quiet the atmosphere was in that stadium. And obviously the handful of Carolina Panthers fans that found themselves there doing all their Cam Newton stuff that they were doing. Like, I remember that because that was the very first Cowboys game that I had gone to. The very first one. It was like a tradition after a while of going to the Thanksgiving game, but that was the very first one. And I remember thinking to myself, I must be bad luck because damn. Tony Romo breaking the collarbone again, second time in that season. And you just feel the way that the stadium kind of deflates. Man, that 2015 season's always going to stick with me because it's right after the 2014 season where Dez caught it, right? So we're hoping to capitalize on all of that stuff, and we just shit the bed, for lack of a better term. I'm sorry, Roku. I apologize sincerely. Mea culpa, mea culpa. Again, it's a T.I.P Friday, VIP Friday. Ask your questions. You got questions? I got some answers for you. Please make them halfway decent questions. Augustine saying Tipton's voice is injured, but gets dropped by Roku and iHeart picks him up. I sincerely doubt iHeart's ever going to pick me up, especially not after the, I think it was back in December maybe, where I went on the anti-iHeart rant. I don't think that'll ever happen again. Maybe, but we'll see. Never say never, right? Victor Wembanyama goes down yesterday. I'm thinking to myself, this day can't get any worse. I knew it was coming down the pipe, right? Like we knew it was coming. And then the news comes out about Zach Martin retiring from the Dallas Cowboys, a surefire first ballot Hall of Fame offensive lineman who a lot of people said the Dallas Cowboys wasted the career of. Announces his retirement from Dallas after 11 seasons. And again, you can just feel the heaviness, the weight of that, of one of the best players, because we know whenever he's on the offensive line has an anchor. He was hurt a lot this year, just couldn't get it going, and now he's going to be gone. So now the Dallas Cowboys definitely have an offensive line issue. Last year it was maybe depth. This year it's holy hell, we don't have our surefire first ballot Hall of Fame right guard to protect our quarterback. That's going to be a tough one to replace from Dallas. Like I don't care where you are. That's a tough one to replace because it's, again, a Hall of Fame talent. You don't just miss a Hall of Fame talent. You don't just, replace a Hall of Fame talent unless you're unless you're the Green Bay Packers and you have some magic right there in the quarterback room, because Jesus Christ, they've had a charmed life. Tommy Canazza saying, wait, you don't believe in Brock Hoffman? Oh man, there's a lot of things I believe in. Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, Brock Hoffman, not one of them. The Dallas Cow, I know yesterday I was like, maybe the Dallas Cowboys, wide receiver, something. You go after something, right? No. If I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I am all my draft picks, all of them, offensive line, defensive line, offensive line, defensive line. That's all I want if I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. Augustine saying, wait, who's Hoffman? Exactly. Right? Like, if you got to go that down, if you got to go that far down the depth chart, you ought to know who he is. I don't like doing this, but I'm going to do this. I just want to see if he's making more than the league minimum. And he should. All right, here we go. Oh, wow. He is making more than the league minimum. He is making $927,000 a year. Wow, look at him. Tommy Consa saying that Hoffman is a dog. I don't know about that. I guess like again, the guy that has to fill the shoes of the guy is never successful, right? Like we saw this in New England. We saw it in New England, right? Mac Jones having to follow Tom Brady, not going to be successful. The coach following Bill Belichick, not successful. We got to move on from these guys, right? The guy that has to fill the guy's shoes is Tommy saying he likes what Brock Hoffman did this year. Like maybe I guess the more consistency, right? I just felt like the Dallas offensive line, especially center guard, was bad, just flatly bad. He brings a nasty attitude to that line. You can call them soft, but not him. And maybe that'll translate, right? Like, because as the backup, you can't be the vocal dude, right? Like, you can't take Zach Martin's thunder from him. So now that you're the guy in the spot, maybe that's what it is. Again, I just want more depth. I want more depth from the Dallas Cowboys this year. Tommy saying that Hoffman was an enforcer. I'm going to have to look up the most exciting of things in football. The offensive line stats. So let's see. Let's see the Dallas Cowboys. Let's see if we can find some offensive line stats, because I want to see how many pressures, how many sacks Hoffman might have given up. Augustine saying Mac Jones was good. He just didn't have anything around him. That you might be the only person I have ever come across to have said those words, that Mac Jones was good. Mac Jones was good. Not something I thought that I would read from anybody. Anybody. Mac Jones was good. Augustine, cheers to you. He is now the backup in Jacksonville, I want to say, because I think whenever Trevor Lawrence went down, their offense was bad, like very, very bad. It wasn't great with Trevor Lawrence, so maybe you got something there. But Mac Jones, I don't think has shown anybody anything. Like Drake May, there you go. Would you rather take Drake May or Mac Jones? And the answer is going to be you'd rather take Drake May. I think all of us would rather take Drake May over Mac Jones. Not over a lot of other quarterbacks, but over Mac Jones. All right, so I'm going to have to look at it. I'm not going to look it up right now. See how many sacks, see how many pressures Hoffman allowed. Maybe Tommy, I hope you're right. Like as a Cowboys fan, actually, you know what? No, I'm sticking to my guns. I said it. I don't want them to win a damn game this year. No games. 0 wins. 0-17. If you're going to be bad, be historically bad. That's what I want out of the Dallas Cowboys. Be historically bad, please. So Hoffman, be a turnstile at offensive guard. I don't care. Let Dak Prescott get hurt as much as he's like, not you too. You'll take Dak over Burrow. We're talking about this season. Would you replace Dak with Burrow? Not much of a change is going to happen. It's just not. It's not. Neither of them are going to be Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. Neither of them. Yes, Burrow made it. He made it further than Dak, but he's not going to win a Super Bowl. Again, I never say never. I might say never on that one. I was thinking about the Stephen A. Tip thing, right? I think what I need to do is like become a bully of a team that's just bad, right? I was thinking like the Arizona Cardinals or like the Tennessee Titans, right? Like this team is never gonna win a Super Bowl. They get bounced out of like the first round, just start laughing. They don't make the playoffs. Every time they lose, I have a cigar. Like it was the Titans, I just have oil. Like I have a can of oil hanging out with me. Like whatever it is that I got to do to make fun of those teams. How would I make fun of the Cardinals though? Like I have a cat. Do I just like feed a bird to my cat on like a live stream or something like that? I've got to think about the bad team that I can make fun of relentlessly. I was thinking about the Raiders, but that's like too easy of a target, you know, like it's the Raiders. It's kind of like picking on the special needs kid that just got off the short bus. That's why I don't want to mess with the Raiders. Like it's too easy of a target. So I got to try to find a really bad team. Like the Browns, that's again too easy of a target. Jacksonville, their coach is creepy, sounds like a ghost. Duval. Such a weird little guy that guy is. But I don't know, man. Like I've got to try to find out what team or like the team that no one cares about. Like I have to really just dive in and hate on this team. What's a team that no one really cares about? I want to say Seattle. I think we got to think this over. Like, what is the most mediocre mid team that whenever you see them do something, you're like, eh. And whenever they don't do anything, you're kind of like, eh. Is it the Chargers? I really feel like it's the Chargers now. I'm sorry, guys. I'm thinking about this like as I'm going. Is it the Chargers? I don't think anyone ever has any expectations for the Chargers. I think the Bengals also occupy that as well, right? Where it's like, if the Bengals are okay, they're okay. If they're bad, they're bad. They're the Bengals. Like that's what we kind of expect from them. That's what I said. The Cardinals, but like again, like it seems too easy, right? Like because I mean, I can make fun of Raiders fans all day. It's just again, it's easy. It's way too easy. Yesterday, I met two Raiders fans, completely surprised by that. And they had the audacity to be like, at least my team made the Super Bowl in the 2000s, to which I said, at least I've seen my team win a Super Bowl in my lifetime. I saw my team win 3. You're in your mid-40s, and you haven't seen your team win a Super Bowl. Wild. Wild. I think we're going to have to brainstorm this. Maybe it is the Cardinals. Maybe I become the number one voice. I was going to say anti-Cardinal, but then that sounds like I'm, going religious. So now I've got to like what the Dolphins. That's a good one. Haven't done anything since 1972. Was that the last time they won a Super Bowl? Or was it 1973? I'm trying to think of one of those 2 seasons. I think the Dolphins might be a good one. Had Dan Marino ruin the entirety of his career? You know what? Yeah, I think we can do that. Your quarterback's concussed. Your quarterback is going to be the next Benoit. Oh, man, probably shouldn't have said that. Also, deep cut, if you actually know what I'm talking about. Sports, am I right, guys? Oh, hey, let's look at some of the stuff going on in the world of sports that we have happening right now. Sports games and whatnot. Yesterday, I was watching, along with the San Antonio Spurs, I was watching U.S. hockey taking on Canada. I hope some of y'all actually watched that game. It was such a fun game. We wind up getting free hockey. I think we go about halfway through the overtime period, and McJesus does what McJesus is going to do. Just, it's insane to me. If you don't watch hockey, start trying to watch at least the Edmonton Oilers, and you can see Connor McDavid and how much better and how much faster and how much more physical he is than everyone else on what we can all agree is arguably one of the toughest sports in the world. You're on razor blades with a stick hitting a puck 100 miles an hour at each other, and your goal is let me run you into that glass wall right there. And if the glass wall breaks, so be it. Connor McDavid is the best of those guys. It's like watching Spartacus as a gladiator, right? That's a deep cut as well. That's like watching just the best of the best. And we're talking about athletes that have never been better, right? Like we're watching a guy who's faster, stronger, and better at the game than everyone else is that's around him. It's like watching a modern day Wilt Chamberlain, basically, is what Connor McDavid brings to the sport of hockey. And if you watch the way that he's skating in the overtime period, already an hour deep of skating, doing all the stuff that they've got to do in a hockey game, and how much faster and more physical he is at the end of the game for him to win a face-off and then get the puck into the net to win a game against the United States that Canada, again, congrats Canada with all the stuff that's surrounding the 51st state. Jesus Christ. With all that stuff, congrats to you. But it was so cool because it's an exhibition game. It's their version of an all-star game. The fans were into it. The players were into it. The broadcast was into it. I was into it as someone who watches hockey in like the auxiliary. It was an amazing game. Hockey is doing their all-star stuff right. Major League Baseball, the NFL, and the NBA all got to get better at it. But man, just watching the way that game went down, watching Connor McDavid do his thing, watching the United States, they were down early. They tie the game, get the lead. Canada ties it in the second period. No goals being scored through the whole third period, and then half of the overtime period. 10 minutes into overtime, Connor McDavid wins on the faceoff, gets himself a goal scored. Absolutely a phenomenal exhibition that the NHL has done with the Four Nations Cup. Guys, I sincerely hope that you actually watched it. If you didn't, watch the highlights. Hockey's has to be on the come up, right? Like there was a period of time there where hockey was hurt a lot by like lockouts and things like that. You had missed seasons. You had a lot of other issues that were kind of surrounding hockey. You didn't know where to watch the games and stuff like that. ESPN finally gets behind hockey, starts putting hockey out there, starts talking about hockey, and we can see the growth in the sport as it's getting better. My guy Hawk Scott struggling with phone numbers, man. Jesus. But yeah, like the way that hockey's been coming up, it's because ESPN is now putting the marketing machine behind hockey. But the thing is it feels like ESPN is spreading themselves so thin because earlier today we get news that Major League Baseball in the 2026, 2027, 2028 season is opting out of its contract, its lucrative national TV deal with ESPN, because they feel like Major League Baseball isn't getting the coverage that the other sports are. And I kind of had to sit back and think about that for a minute. I thought, damn, they're right. Like genuinely, they're right. Major League Baseball, it's a slower paced sport. It's kind of like soccer, right? Like soccer doesn't get the love on ESPN that I feel like it deserves. And once ESPN puts the marketing machine behind you, it's great, right? Tommy Cananza coming at me about our guy Hoffman, Brock Hoffman. That's a good name though, man. That genuinely is a good name, Brock Hoffman. Played 515 snaps, had 5 penalties called, allowed 6 pressures, 3 quarterback hits, and 1 sack. Not bad for a career backup center playing guard for the first time. You're right. You are right, my dude. I'm backing off. Brock Hoffman. If you take over for Zach Martin, I'm going to go full Sabrina Carpenter here. Shout out to my son, Jinder. Please Don't prove I'm right. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking for you, Brock Hoffman. Please, please, please don't prove I'm right. That's all I want. Prove me wrong. Protect Dak Prescott. No, damn it. Again, I've got to get back to Tommy. You're trying to get me out of the character that I'm trying to create for myself of 0-17. Dallas Cowboys, you win an MFing game next year, and I am going to lose my crap. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll do Stephen A. Tip, but anti-Cowboys wins. Right? Like Stephen A. always shows up with a cigar, and he's like laughing whenever the Cowboys lose. I will be Stephen A. Tip with a cigar, laughing. I guess it doesn't work that way because I was going to say if the Cowboys win, I guess I'll have to be like angry and then celebrating whenever they lose. Like, yes, we're doing it. 0-17, baby. Like that's what I want. And if they win one game, it'll be 1-16, baby. 2-15, baby. This is happening. The tank season is upon us. Brock Hoffman, be great. Be maximum Brock Hoffman, whatever that may be. Then we have to come up with a shirt. You know what, Tommy? My goal for this season is we are going to talk more about Brock Hoffman than any show in the history of football has ever spoken about an offensive lineman. This will be the home, the number one place where we talk Brock Hoffman. Brock talk. Look at that. He's the Brock of the walk. We've got it, man. Brock Hoffman. Big Brock. It's no longer Brock Purdy. It's Brock Hoffman. Man. The Eagles just won the Super Bowl. Tip. All bets are off. We need to stop them from repeating LOL. The Brock Hoffman show. I need to find a way. I've got a friend that does media relations with the Cowboys. I have to find a way to get Brock Hoffman on the show. We've got one more year. He's on last year 2-year deal. He's on one more year with the Cowboys. We need to make sure we get this man an extension. He retires as a Dallas Cowboy. Good morning to you, Gary Bryant. Hope that you are doing well, my friend. Tommy Constant, I'm going to make it my mission to get Brock Hoffman on the show. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. I also know Dallas Cowboys long snapper Trent Sieg. I've been trying to get him on the show. It was back whenever we did Fire and Ice, and getting them on a Saturday was a lot more difficult than being able to get them throughout the week. So I think that's what we're going to do, is we're going to be your number one spot for Dallas Cowboys offensive lineman Brock Hoffman, who I assure you his name has never been said more than it has been in the last 43 minutes of this show. And we're going to go in depth with Dallas Cowboys long snapper Trent Sieg. Oh, man. I already feel it. We're going to cover the Cowboys like no one else has ever covered the Dallas Cowboys. We're getting into the trenches, baby. That's the way that it works. And I'm with it, Tommy. Look, I know they're going to be bad next year. Gary, I'm sorry. I know they're going to be bad this year. I like that. Brock Hoffman at some point will miss some games. Don't put that bad vibe on our guy, Brock Hoffman. Brock Hoffman is an Iron Man. Brock Hoffman is made out of just steel. And his only weakness isn't even kryptonite. It's like kryptonite times infinity. That's what it would take to get rid of Brock Hoffman. Brock Hoffman is a god amongst the offensive line. But I did like Awesome Richardson or Awesome Richards. Tyler Booker, I wouldn't mind. Like that's what I want. I want the Dallas Cowboys to address the offensive line. It's so early for me to say let's give up on Tyler Guyton. Like I think he can get better, but I also believe that if you have, that's the second time I've seen it. Brock Hoffman, a dog Hoffman. Oh my God, Tommy, I think I'm gonna make a shirt. I haven't done a good job of promoting the shirts that I have on the Tipping Point website. And Tommy Canazza is correct. We will have zero Brock Hoffman slander here. Not on this show. You can go to ESPN and get all the anti-Brock Hoffman nonsense that they're going to spew over there. Here on this show, we know that Brock Hoffman is a dog. Arr, arr, arr. That might have been the dumbest thing I think I've ever done. But you know what? I'm leaning into it. I am leaning into it. We are going to be the number one spot for the Dallas Cowboys backup center / right guard, Brock Hoffman. I'm gonna have to find a jersey. I think that's what we're gonna have to do, Tommy. Tommy, me, you, and Gary are going to have to find Brock Hoffman jerseys. And we're going to we got to support our dude if he's on Patreon, if he's on Cameo, whatever it is. We are supporting our guy, Brock Hoffman. I will make a shirt. It'll be Dog Hoffman. I will make a shirt, and I will find whatever charity it is that he gives to. I will sell that shirt. Proceeds from that shirt will go to his charity. Brock Hoffman, we're putting the massive, and I mean just the millions and millions of the people that ingest this show, I couldn't even get through without laughing, behind Brock Hoffman, and we will make sure that this man gets to see all the glory that he is entitled to. Zach Martin, we're going to miss you, but we've got Brock the Dog Hoffman now. Gary Brown said, "Oh, that's what we're doing. Brock Hoffman is Chuck Norris 2.0. Okay, cool. I love. Hey, you know what? Even if it's sarcasm bought into it, I will take it. Brock Hoffman. Zach who? Zach who? Hey, we need to build the legend of Brock Hoffman. I'm going to start looking up highlights. I have nothing to do this weekend. I'm going to start looking up highlights, and I'm going to create like a WWE style like promo for him, right? Like those video packages, the vignettes that the WWE used to do. And we are going to hype up our guy, Brock Hoffman. Come Monday, I'm going to reach out to the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to reach out to their PR people, and we will find a time to get our guy, Brock Hoffman, on the show, talk about all the stuff. And this is the thing, man. People always say that offensive linemen, you know, whenever they do the job, they're kind of in the background. They're just like doing their thing. Offensive linemen also have amazing personalities, right? Like I know that for a fact. So I am going to try everything I can to bring out that personality, that majestic personality that our dog, Brock Hoffman, we know he has. Augustine saying, who is this Hoffman guy? Oh, my guy. You're going to find out soon. You're finna find out. Zach who? Exactly. Zach who? That also feels like blasphemy. Zach Martin, I don't mean that. The rest of it I do mean. I am, whatever I've got, sinking it into our guy, Brock Hoffman. Now, again, like I was talking about the MLB, how they're leaving their TV contract with ESPN. And a lot of people would say, look, MLB, that's stupid. TV deals are what makes the world of sports go around. That's where money comes from, right? The money generated from national TV deals is what helps teams survive. However, Major League Baseball has been in a really weird purgatory with their TV deals, right? Because local TV deals, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Baltimore / Washington Nationals deal that they have, Chicago, right? Like those big cities, St. Louis, the TV deals that they have in those cities has been extremely lucrative. But as we know, Bally Sports, formerly Fox Sports, whatever, has gone bankrupt and have been losing product left and right. Major League Baseball is doing something that I think is extremely smart and extremely profound, where they are watching what's happening with the world of streaming, and they're going to create their own streaming services where there are zero blackouts, right? Last year, I was trying to work a deal with a company in Dallas where I would be doing post-game shows for the Texas Rangers, and it was so difficult for me to be able to watch the games here in Texas because they were blacked out. Major League Baseball is realizing that those blackout rules are so antiquated and so outdated that now it's going to be, we're going to show these games no matter what. They're going to be streamed so you can get them whenever the hell you want to watch them. And they're making it now more user friendly, which is kind of the way that I feel like sports watching is going to wind up going in the future. The crazy thing about that is it's normally not Major League Baseball that's on the forefront of this. So watching Major League Baseball say to ESPN, the biggest and baddest of them all, I don't think we need you anymore, really opens my eyes to what could happen whenever more powerful sports decide to do that. Whenever college football decides the college football playoff can really be whatever we want it to be. The SEC, the Big Ten, maybe the ACC, maybe the Big 12 can just say, screw the rest of y'all. We can create our own damn thing over here. And the rest of you can go work for that other title, which I said last year could be a real possibility of making like a different NIT style thing that we're going to wind up seeing in college football. ESPN is starting to lose their chokehold on sports rights, on all these things. And I get it, it's Major League Baseball. A lot of people don't care about baseball anymore, right? Not the way that they used to. It was always like a big national sport with a lot of regional identity. Now it's more regional identity than it is anything else. But to watch Major League Baseball sit here and be like, we don't need you anymore, ESPN. We've got our own thing going, really makes me interested to see what the product for Major League Baseball is going to be in the 2026 season. Tommy Canassa saying, Augustine, you just effed around and found out, my boy. Brock Hoffman is the next Avenger. This superhero name, Brock Hoffman. That actually sounds like a really good superhero name, right? Like the alter ego, the identity there, Brock Hoffman. Brock Hoffweiler, because he's a dog. I think we got to make it our goal, right? Like Brock Purdy with the 49ers, that's garbage. That's a bad Brock. That's the worst Brock. Get the Brock on out of here, Brock. We've got to make our guy, Brock Hoffman. We've got to make him the legendary Brock. Brock Hoffman, Brock Lesnar. That's what the goal has to be for us moving forward here. Oh, man. All right. So that was fun. I appreciate it, guys. Once again, I appreciate all of y'all for the support, everything that y'all do, helping me out here with the show on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. I am fighting through some stuff that I've got to eject out of my body, so I'm going to end the show a little bit earlier. I know you didn't need to hear that. It's going to be a pyroclastic blast, flashback to, or I guess callback to Monday show. We're giving Hoffman legendary status like Nacho Libre. Oh, my dude. He's going to be... We're going to find a way to make this work. We're going to find a way to make this work. I have been motivated. I have been just given all of my everything behind it to give to Brock Hoffman. Gary Bryant saying FanDuel, Netflix take over for MLB. MLB's actually been working with Apple. They have a great product on Apple. I love that broadcast. I think they're still going to stick with their Fox their Fox coverage with A-Rod, Derek Jeter, David Ortiz and them. FanDuel took over for Bally's, right? But they incurred all that debt, and I think that's going to be a tough one for them to all overcome. So the TV deals with that, with like those local TV markets, aren't going to be as lucrative as what I think Major League Baseball, being in charge of it themselves, would be able to do with their own backing, right? Like, why would you give your services to Netflix when you can just have your own streaming service? And now you're in charge of all the rules. You don't have to worry about blackouts. Every game is there. You're Major League Baseball. You're going to have your legendary advertisers that are going to stick with you. You're probably going to get newer advertisers because now you're in a different way of streaming. And with them now opening up the books on all the gambling and stuff like that, I I love it, man. Like, I'm good with it. Tommy's saying, I hate sports streamed. It's delayed a little bit. I know that's always the one that I hate is the sports being streamed. But if everything is streamed and you go away from the traditional TV model, which we know a lot of people are trying to do now, everyone's on the same level, right? Baseball is hard to catch up with a national scale. TBS, True TV. That's the thing, right? Like, I also feel like go back to what made you Major League Baseball. The TBS Superstation stuff with like the Braves and all that, that was awesome. ESPN to me, I don't feel like Major League Baseball needs ESPN. Like, I genuinely don't feel that way because they're out there all over the place, right? And like I said, it's more of a regional thing now. So why even worry about because you can listen to the radio or you can watch ESPN and you can tell that like Stephen A doesn't know what he's talking about whenever he's talking about the Mets or the Yankees or any of this stuff because he's just so overwhelmed with a bunch of other stuff. Brock Hoffman should be a candy bar. The Brock Hoffman. Well, if everything was streamed, it would just be different. I just don't like knowing that someone saw the outcome 30 seconds before I did. That happened to me yesterday. I'm watching the hockey game. My friend Pat sends me a message and he says, F, right? Didn't just put F, put the whole word. And I look at it and I'm like, okay, well, I know what's going to happen now. I'm watching the face-off. Goal goes in from Connor McDavid, and I'm like, man, that sucks. But I also broke my rule of whenever I watch sports, I try not to have my phone around because I know that the spoiler alerts are going to happen. I even put my phone on silent so I don't get the alerts on my watch, right? Like, that's how I've been taking sports recently, and it makes me feel better because now I don't have to listen to all the rhetoric that's out there. Also, too many people are streaming with trash platforms and they start to crash, shake my head. Yeah, man. What was it? It was the it was a boxing match, wasn't it? Like, wasn't there the Tyson and the Tyson Paul fight. Yeah, that one on Netflix was bad, but Netflix with the NFL was great, right? Like, the broadcast was great. So yeah, like maybe that's what it because like I feel like obviously boxing's going to have a larger global audience and that's going to slow things down. I also don't think Netflix was prepared for what was going to happen with boxing, right? People need to realize how popular boxing genuinely is as opposed to like and I'm talking about globally now, as opposed to what the NFL is, right? Like Major League Baseball isn't going to be nearly as popular as a lot of those other sports are. It's boxing, basketball, and soccer. I think if those were streamed on Netflix, that would crash the site the way that we saw it happen with the Jake Paul fight. That one, though, like the NFL, we saw what the product was like. I really genuinely liked the Christmas product that was out there for Netflix. My girl Mina Kimes doing her thing. Like, it was awesome. It was awesome seeing that broadcast. It was a really good broadcast from Netflix when it came down to the NFL. It's going to be interesting, though, because, like, I love me some baseball. It's been hard watching ESPN whenever they talk about baseball because you can tell they don't know what the hell they're talking about, right? Like, it's, oh, well, the Dodgers are going to have everything because they're the Dodgers. Dodgers. Just sucking off the Dodgers. Probably shouldn't have said that. Genuflecting to the Dodgers and bending the knee to them because they're in the biggest TV market with the biggest TV deal and all that other nonsense, right? Tommy's saying, I'm an old school type of guy. Leave it to Fox, NBC, and CBS. Major League Baseball, if you put it on TBS, TNT even maybe, I'm good with it. Same thing with the NCAA tournament. It should just be on CBS. Whatever we do, though, it needs to be available for everybody. We cannot have these old, antiquated blackout rules. Tommy's saying he hates the CBS broadcast, though, to be honest. You hating on Tony Romo? Is that how we're ending the show? You're hating on Tony Romo? On the god that is Tony Romo? I don't know about that, Tommy. That's not who you're hating on. Tell me that's not who you're hating on. I got 10 seconds here, and this is how you're going to end my week, Tommy? This is what you're doing to me? I'm hating on Tony Romo because you don't like the CBS broadcast? Damn it. Everybody, we'll see you next week. Can't believe you did that to me, Tommy.